Backstage with Mothership on Solid Rock Radio begins now. Hear the best in new music, artist interviews, stories from the road, and more. You are now backstage, and here's your host, Mothership.
Hey everybody, happy Labor Day. I hope y'all had a wonderful holiday weekend. No guest this week, but next week I have my friend Matt Baird of Spoken coming on to talk with me about all kinds of different things. Tonight we're just going to chill, listen to some good music, and I want to share a couple of band stories with you. So stay tuned.
Backstage with Mothership returns after this. Check us out on Facebook at I'm with Mothership.
Our family's known Skillet for quite some time. When my daughter was 15 years old, that was 10 years ago, by the way, she drew some Skillet cartoons that she posted on social media, and they caught the eye of Ben Casca, who was their guitarist at the time. At some point, Ben came up with the idea of doing an introduction to the podcast that they did on YouTube and asked Ashley if she would draw some cartoons for that. So she did that for them and spent some time with the band off and on. She began to draw pictures of the band regularly, and they chose one of her other pieces to use on official Skillet merch. Because of the mentoring she received from Skillet, she ended up pursuing a degree in art. Now she's the manager of the graphic art department of a sports apparel and equipment company. Skillet was the first musicianaries to impact our family.
Out Performance Shop is a proud supporter of Solid Rock Radio. They specialize in retail and wholesale of automotive, high-performance, racing, and off-road products. They also carry a variety of accessories from remote control cars to rock and roller multi-carts. On the web at outperformance.com.
Every August, Wild Adventures theme park closes out their summer concert series with Skillet. We started a family tradition when we lived in the Valdosta area to not only have our faces melted every year by the South Georgia heat, but by Skillet. Wild Adventures has a great water park. It has zoo animals, roller coasters. It's a great family-friendly park. So, after he had his sound check, if he had time, Jonathan Chu would meet me and the kids, and we'd ride roller coasters together. For those of you who don't know, John played violin for Skillet for many years. John is a very talented violinist, and he also was quite the performer, jumping about 4 feet in the air while playing rock and roll violin. Not something you see every day. John was a big roller coaster fan, and the other members of the band didn't want to ride, so it was nice for him to have somebody to ride with. Some of our social media friends would search us out and find us in line. Other than that, John could pretty much go through the park without being noticed. He had on his shorts, he had his hair pulled back in a ponytail. He just looked like the typical Wild Adventures guest. So one time, we were in this long line. We were getting ready to ride the boomerang coaster, and we were catching up with each other. There was a guy in front of us who saw my Skillet shirt. He looked up at us and he asked, "Have you seen Skillet before?" And I told him I'd seen them quite a few times. He looks over at John and says, "What do you think of Skillet?" John doesn't even bat an eye, shrugs his shoulders and says, they're okay. Of course, by then I'm dying, and I'm thinking, he's going to tell the guy. But he just sits there and listens to him talk about the couple of times he's taken his family to see Skillet and where they went to see them. John slowly reaches down and grabs his all-access pass that's on his belt loop and casually slides it into his pocket. I'm pretty amused at this point. And I keep cutting my eyes at John, who continues to have a deadpan expression on his face. When the line starts moving again, the guy turns around to his family. And then I look at John and whisper, "Are we going to tell him?" John just grins at me and says, "Why spoil the fun?" My only regret is not seeing that guy's face when he saw John on stage later that night. Can you imagine asking a member of Skillet whether or not they liked Skillet? It's one of my favorite stories and one of my favorite memories with John.
Check us out on Facebook at I'm with Mothership.
My husband and I have been driving for the last few years up to Uprise Festival in Pennsylvania. It's a 10-hour drive, but it was worth it for us because they actually have a rock stage. In 2018, we were there at the rock stage as usual, but my friends Red were going to play on main stage at the exact same time as Lacey Sturm, which is a big dilemma for me because they're both favorites of mine. Those of you that know, I have a spine injury and have difficulty walking long distances. So I thought, well, I guess I better just stay here and watch Lacey and miss Red this year because it's just going to be too hard to get over there. I'm not sure if I'd have a good place to watch from because people had been at the stage all day. One song in, I get a text message. It's Dan Johnson, the drummer of Red, and it says, "Please get some videos of the set, please." So now my head starts spinning. How in the world am I going to get over there? How will I find a good spot to film? About that time, to the rescue comes Jake Jones of As We Ascend. I told him, I've got to get over to the rock stage to film Dan and Red, And he says, well, I have to go to the main stage too. Come on, let's go. So we start hoofing it over to the main stage. We're weaving and dodging as we ascend fans. I make it just before red set. Jake handed me an artist wristband that he'd been saving as a souvenir. He says, as long as I have this on, I can stay backstage. And then he went and did what he needed to go do. Just as the show started, Dan turned around, saw me behind him, and just stuck out his tongue at me. Mission accomplished. It was very memorable and a surreal experience watching the festival from that perspective. I do like being in front of the stage more in some aspects, but it was a special privilege to get to be there. Footnote, a few weeks later, in Germany for Loud and Proud Festival, I handed Jake his artist wristband back. I'd saved it so he could add it to his collection. That's it for me tonight. Don't forget to check out my blog on solidrockradio.org. It includes a few pictures that go along with the stories I told tonight. Reminder, next week, Matt Baird of Spoken will be here. Thanks for stopping in. Stay tuned for more great music all night long. This show will be replayed at 4 a.m. Eastern Time and will be added to the Solid Rock Radio website archive and SoundCloud soon. I pray you all have a great week, and remember to be kind to one another.